Mon ami Michel le Presidente Macron, सम्मान्य शिष्टमंडलों के सदस्यगण, मीडिया फ्रेंड्स, नमस्कार। मैं राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो का और उनके साथ आए प्रतिनिधिमंडल का भारत में सहर्ष हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। राष्ट्रपति जी कुछ महीने पहले पिछले साल आपने पेरिस में खुले दिल से और गले मिलकर बहुत गर्मजोशी से मेरा स्वागत किया था। मुझे बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि आज मुझे भारत की धरती पर आपका स्वागत करने का मौका मिला। राष्ट्रपति जी, आप और मैं यहाँ साथ साथ खड़े हैं। हम सिर्फ दो सशक्त स्वतंत्र देशों व दो विविधतापूर्ण लोकतंत्र के ही नेता नहीं हैं। हम दो समृद्ध और समर्थ विरासतों के उत्तराधिकारी भी हैं। हमारी स्ट्रैटेजिक पार्टनरशिप भले ही 20 साल पुरानी हो, हमारे देशों और हमारी सभ्यताओं की स्पिरिचुअल पार्टनरशिप सदियों लंबी है। 18वीं शताब्दी से लेकर आज तक पंचतंत्र की कहानियों के जरिए वेद, उपनिषद, महाकाव्यों, श्री रामकृष्ण और श्री अरविंद जैसे महापुरुषों के जरिए फ्रांसीसी विचारकों ने भारत की आत्मा में झांक करके देखा है। वॉल्टेयर, विक्टर ह्यूगो, रोमन रोला, रेने दोमाल, आंद्रे मालरो जैसे असंख्य युग प्रवर्तकों ने भारत के दर्शन में अपनी विचारधाराओं का पूरक और प्रेरक पाया है। राष्ट्रपति जी, आज हमारी यह मुलाकात सिर्फ दो देशों के नेताओं की मुलाकात ही नहीं, दो समान विचार वाली सभ्यताओं और उनकी समग्र धरोहर का समागम है, संगम है। यह संयोग मात्र नहीं है कि लिबर्टी, इक्वलिटी, फ्रेटर्निटी की गूंज फ्रांस में ही नहीं, भारत के संविधान में भी दर्ज है। हमारे दोनों देशों के समाज इन मूल्यों की नींव पर खड़े हैं। इन मूल्यों के लिए हमारे वीर सेनानियों ने 2 विश्व युद्धों में अपनी कुर्बानियां दी हैं। फ्रेंड्स, फ्रांस और भारत की एक मंच पर उपस्थिति एक समावेशी, खुले, समृद्ध व शांतिमय विश्व के लिए एक सुनहरा संकेत है। हमारे दोनों देशों की स्वायत्त और स्वतंत्र विदेश नीतियां सिर्फ अपने अपने हित पर ही नहीं, अपने देशवासियों के हित पर ही नहीं, बल्कि सार्वभौमिक मानवीय मूल्यों को सहेजने पर भी केंद्रित है। और आज वैश्विक चुनौतियों का सामना करने के लिए यदि कोई दो देश कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर चल सकते हैं तो वो है भारत और फ्रांस। राष्ट्रपति जी, आपके नेतृत्व ने यह जिम्मेदारी आसान कर दी है। जब 2015 में इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस का लॉन्च हुआ था तो पेरिस में फ्रांस के राष्ट्रपति जी के साथ हुआ था। कल इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस फाउंडिंग कॉन्फ्रेंस का आयोजन साझा जिम्मेदारियों के प्रति हमारी कार्यशील जागरूकता का ज्वलंत उदाहरण है। मुझे खुशी है कि यह शुभ कार्य फ्रांस के राष्ट्रपति जी के साथ ही हो रहा है। फ्रेंड्स, रक्षा, सुरक्षा, अंतरिक्ष और हाई टेक्नोलॉजी में भारत और फ्रांस के द्विपक्षीय सहयोग का इतिहास बहुत ही लंबा है। दोनों देशों में द्विपक्षीय संबंधों के बारे में बायपार्टीजन सहमति है। सरकार किसी भी की हो, हमारे संबंधों का ग्राफ सिर्फ और सिर्फ ऊंचा ही जाता है। आज की हमारी बातचीत में जो निर्णय लिए गए, उनका एक परिचय आपको अभी हुए समझौतों में मिल गया है। और इसलिए मैं सिर्फ 3 स्पेसिफिक विषयों पर अपने विचार रखना चाहूंगा। पहला, रक्षा क्षेत्र में हमारे संबंध बहुत ही गहन है और हम फ्रांस के सबसे विश्वस्त रक्षा साझेदारों में एक मानते हैं। हमारी सेनाओं के सभी अंगों के बीच विचार विमर्श और युद्ध अभ्यासों का नियमित रूप से आयोजन होता है। रक्षा उपकरणों और उत्पादन में हमारे संबंध मजबूत है। रक्षा क्षेत्र में फ्रांस द्वारा मेक इन इंडिया के कमिटमेंट का हम स्वागत करते हैं। आज हमारी सेनाओं के बीच रेसिप्रोकल लॉजिस्टिक सपोर्ट के समझौते को मैं हमारी घनिष्ठ रक्षा सहयोग के इतिहास में एक स्वर्णिम कदम मानता हूं। दूसरा, हम दोनों का मानना है कि भविष्य में विश्व में सुख, शांति और प्रगति और समृद्धि के लिए इंडियन ओशन क्षेत्र की बहुत महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका रहने वाली है। चाहे पर्यावरण हो, चाहे सामुद्रिक सुरक्षा या सामुद्रिक संसाधन या फ्रीडम ऑफ नेविगेशन एंड ओवरफ्लाइंग, इन सभी विषयों पर हम अपना सहयोग मजबूत करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। और इसलिए आज हम इंडियन ओशन क्षेत्र में अपने सहयोग के लिए एक जॉइंट स्ट्रेटेजिक विजन जारी कर रहे हैं। और तीसरा, हम मानते हैं कि हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंधों के उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए सबसे महत्वपूर्ण आयाम है हमारे पीपल टू पीपल संबंध, विशेष रूप से हमारे युवाओं के बीच। हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे युवा एक दूसरे के देश को जाने, एक दूसरे के देश को देखें, समझें, वहां रहें, वहां काम करें, ताकि हमारे संबंधों के लिए हजारों एम्बेसडर्स तैयार हों। और इसलिए आज हमने 2 महत्वपूर्ण समझौते किए हैं। एक समझौता एक दूसरे की शिक्षा योग्यताओं को मान्यता देने का, और दूसरा हमारी माइग्रेशन एंड मोबिलिटी पार्टनरशिप का है। ये दोनों समझौते हमारे देशवासियों के, हमारे युवाओं के बीच करीबी संबंधों का फ्रेमवर्क तैयार करेंगे। फ्रेंड्स, हमारे संबंधों के अन्य कई आयाम हैं। सभी का उल्लेख करूंगा तो शायद शाम हो जाएगी। रेलवे, शहरी विकास, पर्यावरण, सुरक्षा, अंतरिक्ष, यानी जमीन से आसमान तक ऐसा कोई विषय नहीं है जिस पर हम साथ मिलकर के काम न कर रहे हों। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय पटल पर भी हम सहयोग और समन्वय के साथ काम करते हैं। अफ्रीकी देशों से भारत और फ्रांस के मजबूत संबंध रहे हैं। ये हमारे सहयोग का एक और आयाम विकसित करने का मजबूत आधार प्रदान करता है। कल इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस की फाउंडिंग कॉन्फ्रेंस की सह अध्यक्षता राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो और मैं करेंगे। हमारे साथ कई अन्य देशों के राष्ट्राध्यक्ष, शासनाध्यक्ष और मंत्रीगण भी उपस्थित होंगे। प्लेनेट अर्थ के भविष्य की खातिर हम सभी इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस की सफलता के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं। राष्ट्रपति जी, मुझे आशा है कि परसों वाराणसी में आपको भारत की उस प्राचीन और साथ ही चिर नवीन आत्मा का अनुभव होगा जिसकी तरलता ने भारत की सभ्यता को सींचा है और जिसने फ्रांस के अनेक विचारकों, साहित्यकारों और कलाकारों को भी प्रेरित किया है। आने वाले 2 दिनों में राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो और मैं विचारों का आदान प्रदान जारी रखेंगे। मैं एक बार फिर राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो का, उनके डेलीगेशन का भारत में हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। वो रेमर्सी।
Thank you, sir. May I now request the Honorable President of France to deliver his remarks to the media.
Namaste. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Monsieur le Premier ministre, cher ami, merci beaucoup pour
Excellency, dear friend, thank you so much for these warm words and for your hospitality. My state visit, together with my delegation, is a commitment we made together back in June, like you said, when you came to France. And you very rightly reminded us of the strength of the historical bond between our countries. You mentioned the fact that many French writers came to India and found here a lot of inspiration. I would like to say also that during the 18th and 19th century, there were many French writers who tried to translate Mahabharata and from Sanskrit to French, but they only managed to conclude that work in the early 20th century. So it goes to say that since the 18th century, India, the Indian imaginary, and your writers very much had an influence on the West and on French writers. It was a source of inspiration for all writers, all places. And let me tell you a side story that very much pays tribute to that. And we can see it, acknowledge it at the Guimet Museum in Paris. When Georges Clemenceau tried to better understand India and came to India, to your country, he went and see a number of Brahmins and asked what was were the secrets and what was at the heart of your culture. He was told a number of stories, and somebody said, you should ask Emile Senna because he knows that better than we do, we the Indians do. Emile Senna being a specialist and expert in India and one of the first and top translators of Sanskrit into French. This is also the reason why 140,000 Indian soldiers came to risk their life during World War I in France. This is also this bond that we celebrated in June. Many of these soldiers have been buried in a place I know well, in the cemetery of Chaplet in Péronne, close to where I was born. And Guillaume Apollinaire, in his calligrams, was talking about these soldiers, saying that they were with astonishment looking at the western countryside and thinking with sadness. They were thinking of those they loved, wondering whether they would ever see them again. And this is a bond we will share forever, given that they have fallen for freedom. And for this reason, India will be very much at the heart of the commemorations of the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War on the 11th of November. And on that occasion, we will launch the Paris Peace Forum, the purpose of which will be to promote peace thanks to a better global governance, doing what I believe we do best together, that is, sharing the same reading, the same understanding of the world and the same strategy. The trust that we share is protecting us because our interests are aligned. They are aligned, first of all, against terror. This is the structuring element of the new momentum we're giving to our strategic partnership, against the current threat, against Islamist terrorism, and we very concretely decided to have some very operational and constant exchanges, to do more together to fight radicalization on the internet, and more also to fight against the financing of terrorism. This is about defending our interests of sovereignty, and after 20 years of a strategic partnership, we're now opening up to a new era, a new chapter, with a strengthened strategic partnership, with unprecedented alliances, operational ones, and deep conviction, a deep intent, which is that part of the stability of the world is at stake in the Indian Ocean. And I very much would like us together, given that France also is a power present in the Indian Ocean, through our presence also in the Pacific, what we have decided to do together is to acknowledge, put together a strategy, our cooperation, to share intelligence, to cooperate more. Our navies will do, for example, our navies will be able to call out their respective military bases. We will also have our space agency conducting some joint monitoring of maritime area. And it's very much what we want to protect is very much our freedom of sovereignty. The Pacific or the Indian Ocean cannot be places for hegemonic powers. We are building, therefore, a strategic partnership in this respect. This is also the purpose of our defense cooperation. It was born a while ago and was also tested in difficult times, but beyond political alternative, both in France and in India, this cooperation in the defense field now has a new signification. Let me remind everyone that it is a French company that supported an Indian company for building the Scorpion submarines in Mumbai. The first submarine is now in service and will quickly and very soon join a drill organized both by France and India. And this is part of the Make in India project. Same for fighter jets. India has made a sovereign decision in this respect, and we are monitoring the progress achieved in the field. This program, which we very much want to continue, it is a long-term project which is mutually beneficial. And I personally consider that at the heart of this defense strategic partnership is crucial, because it's very much at the heart of what is being done around the world and the new face of the world. There is therefore a trust compact between the two of us, between ourselves, and it is also a peace compact. The second pillar of what we're doing is everything we're doing for justice. A couple of weeks ago in Davos, Excellency, you quoted Mahatma Gandhi, and I paid tribute to him this morning, and I would like to quote what he said. There is enough nature for need, but not for greed. I do not know whether one can stop greediness when it comes to globalization, but we can make a joint commitment to find some concrete answers to our joint vision of climate, which is a joint asset. It is in this context that, in accordance with the Paris Agreement, we decided to fully implement our commitments in terms of solar energy. This is what we will be, therefore, implementing tomorrow on the occasion of the founding summit of the International Solar Alliance. A lot of work has been done on both sides in order to gather as many partners, states as possible, as many funders as well. And what was initially an Indian idea turned into an initiative, and as from tomorrow will be a reality, a fact that was made possible. So, Prime Minister, Excellency, thank you so much for hosting us, for hosting this meeting. On this occasion, we will agree a roadmap on 3 points. First of all, it is about identifying projects, access to financing, and access to technology. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, but I think it is a major point of time, a major time for India, for our partnership, and for the world. This priority which we are supporting at the international level is also being implemented at bilateral level through our cooperation. I did not comment on the 50 or so contracts which are being signed, but there is one thing in common, is that many of these agreements very much allow us to fight climate disruption in the context of our bilateral contacts. Transport now, there is the semi-high-speed Delhi-Chandigarh railway, there is also electric mobility. We have same interests. We are developing also infrastructure, urban infrastructure in Chandigarh, Nagpur and Pondicherry. And when it comes to renewables, the French Development Agency's commitment portfolio is in 1/3 about renewable energy. We are investing in the largest solar plant in Uttar Pradesh, which is at the heart of the programs you've initiated. We together are investing in the future of India. And the framework agreement is signed today also contributes to reducing carbon emissions in the electric and energy mix, which is very much part of that ambition. It is also the same goal that we share in the context of our space partnership and for the benefit of the climate. This bilateral relation, of course, is also economic, as shown by many contracts being signed. We will later on today be meeting CEOs who come regularly, and I would like to thank them for their commitment, their very lively discussions and work. There are a number, if I may quote, a number of areas, technology or services, but we shall do more, particularly in the agro-food business or for SMEs, and I will say more about it later on today. This is also one of the reasons why we are both very much attached to the balance of the international trade. We share the same willingness to prevent any trade war and to protect the existing balances. Of course, we will defend our interests within the international fora and in accordance with the rules of international trade and prevent any negative impact on our economies. Now, the last element of our bilateral cooperation, it is about sharing. This history which is feeding our relationship is also about human bonds, because on a daily basis, these men and women, these communities and our civilizations are so meaningful and open. And we are aiming at strengthening this bond. This is the reason why I very much would like to double the number of Indian students in France. Today we are signing an agreement on recognizing the qualifications as well as an agreement on mobility. And we will be holding the Knowledge Summit, the first Knowledge Summit between our two countries, embodied by some 500 cooperation agreements. And here again it is about investing in the future of India, its human capital, which is also brings out so much. So we are also strengthening our cooperation in the field. We're also strengthening our cooperation in the field of tourism, heritage, culture. All of these will be decided, and India will be the guest of honor of the book fair in Paris in 2020. Please allow me to say as well that the purpose of this visit is also to make India our first strategic partner in the region. And I would like France to be your first strategic partner in Europe and more generally in the Western world. For all the reasons I mentioned, because we share the same defense and strategic interests, because we have the same vision of the world, because we have the same vision of these common goods such as climate, and because we also have this community of men and women which so much contributed to that. Like I said, beyond our discussions today, or in the margin of our discussions, I will have a meeting with some young Indians this afternoon, a very lively discussion on these ideas. And tomorrow we will launch the International Solar Alliance together. I will visit the Taj Mahal, and we will be traveling to Benares on the day after tomorrow together, which gives me great pleasure. and will very much go to the roots of the Indian culture, like you said, in order to inaugurate this major solar plant. And also we will continue to develop these permanent bonds that we have and make sure that these historical bonds are turned into a future relationship thanks to this strategic partnership. Of course, I will come back to India, but dear friend, Mr. Prime Minister, please let me tell you that you are the standing invitee of France. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency. This concludes the press event. Thank you all for joining.